this is Ruth Brewer, and I'll be doing a review on my demo reel. The three assets I chose to display are creatures that I worked on in previous classes. The first one is what seems to be a mix of a bird and a dragon, and the reason why I chose it was it had feathers and I wanted to try and learn how to create them. So this asset was the result of that. The position I want to get into is character modeler, and I'm open to different styles. I just want to follow the reference as close as possible. And in this case, I was working with something that was semi-realistic, and I do believe it represents that, especially thanks to the textures and feathers / hair. I do feel that this is greater than an entry level, mostly because it displays the effort when it comes to hair, but at the same time, it's not a full model, and I can add more to it when it comes to the texture, so for now, I think it's an entry level. This asset is finished. Later on, I'll most likely add more to the texture, but for now, I'm happy with the result. And when it comes to representing my skills, I feel this asset does represent more than I intended. It not only shows that I can model and texture, but also how I use XGen to work on the feathers and hair. The second asset is a minotaur, and I wanted to do something that was between human and creature, since it had human characteristics to it and also more limbs. I wanted to try to challenge myself. I feel like it does represent the fantasy style that it has and follows the reference when it comes to character model precision, but it would have been more impactful if it was rigged, textured, and posed. I do feel like this is an entry-level asset. It displays the full model in its topology. I'm not finished with this model though. The UVs are done, so the next step is working on the textures and adding them to the model. And if possible in the future, I'll want to rig it and pose this asset with the weapons that is in the reference. This asset does represent my skills within the character modeler discipline when it comes to creating full models with a finished topology. I do believe I can do more though, especially with the textures. And the last asset is an interesting creature concept that reminds me of a land shark. I chose this asset because it has a lot to do with details and alphas. For now, it does represent the style of the reference, but not the quality, since it only has a low poly model with no displacement maps. It can be an entry-level asset just for the model and the retopology, but just like the Minotaur, I can add more to it. This asset is also not finished. I want to add the textures and the displacement maps to add in those details. It does represent my skill as a character modeler, knowing how to model full bodies and retopologizing them, but I also want this asset to represent the skills I have for texturing. And those are all 3 assets of my demo reel.